Here was good. Back with day 14. We're going to be going through chapter 42 now. Right at the very beginning, we see Jacob's sons doing nothing. Even Jacob is like, yo, why y'all just standing around looking at each other? I just heard that they got grain in Egypt and we need to get some, so you guys go get it. Now, we already know that Joe's brothers had a tendency to lie and cheat, so you can imagine that they also had the same tendency to be lazy as well. And so they all head out to go to Egypt except for Benjamin, because Benjamin was the youngest of all of them, and Jacob just did not trust any of them to protect him, as we see what happened with Joseph. He already lost Joe. He's not trying to lose Ben too. So the boys head off to Egypt, and this is actually about a 2 weeks journey with their donkeys and everything that they need to carry all the grain back. So this is a lot to do. Imagine you're risking your life to walk through a huge desert, not even hoping or knowing if you're going to make it to Egypt. So this is part of the reason why Jacob was afraid.
Don't worry, buddy. You're doing fine. I won't let you blow this. What kind of place is this? There's no water in here. I'm trying to tell you.
Good thing that the brothers weren't the only ones in Canaan going to Egypt for food, because everybody was starving. So they all packed up together and went. This is where we see Joseph's dream become a reality. So unbeknownst to the brothers, Joseph was actually the one distributing the grain. When they show up, that's when Joe recognized them instant, and they bowed low to him as the governor, even though they didn't know it would be him, fulfilling the 2 dreams that Joe had in the beginning. Instantly, Joe accuses them of being spies and coming up with this whole plot and ruse to see their character, because they don't know that he's the governor of Egypt. They think he's dead. And so they're trying to tell him, we're honest men. We ain't trying to start no problems. All we want is to buy some grain. Not only that, Joe was a grown man at this point, so he's more likely unrecognizable, and he was using an interpreter to translate for him, even though he knew Hebrew. He did this in a way to keep himself undercover. I also found it ironic how the brothers were saying they were honest men, knowing good and well what they did to their brother Joseph. Joseph sets up a plot to see his younger brother, Benjamin. Like I said, he accuses them of being spies and says, you know what? You got to prove it to me. That brother you say you have, you got to bring him to show that he's real. At first, Joseph was like, all right, I'm going to imprison all you guys, and one of you has to go get your brother. But then after imprisoning them for 3 days, he had some time to think it over and told them, you know what? Instead, I'm going to capture one of you guys. So go ahead and choose who y'all want to stay in my prison while the rest of you go get your younger brother to prove that you're not spies. Even the imprisonment showed that he was being dead serious. He also thought about the fact that they had families and their father, so he wanted to make sure that they had enough grain to send back to home. Even in the midst of seeing his very enemies, his captors, his own brothers, Joseph is humble enough to realize the need of his family and his people. And so in his humble stature, he decides to send them with everything they needed. And he sends them on their way and says, you are not going to see me again until you bring your youngest brother to me, unless you want to die. And so they spoke amongst themselves in Hebrew and said, clearly we're being punished for what we did to Joseph back in the day. And Reuben was like, I told you, now his blood is on our hands. And Joseph is so overwhelmed with emotion from this, he goes over and turns away from them, and he weeps bitterly. He was most likely lamenting over his brother's grief, and he was probably still angry after what they did. All of this mix of emotions was too heavy to bear. So instead of allowing them to choose who they wanted to leave behind, Joe chose Simeon and put him in prison. Joe even secretly gave all their money back to them. He had told one of his servants to put it in the grain bags that they were taking back home. Though he had something against his brothers, he still loved and cared for them. While on their way home, one of the brothers stopped to feed the donkeys. And unfortunately, they found the money bag and were terrified. They believed this was an omen from God, and that for their sins, God was setting them up. And so the brothers get home and told Jacob everything the governor, which is Joseph, told them. All of the dramatic irony in these scenes is building up so much suspense. And so when they finally get home, they all open up their grain bags and found out about the money bags that Joseph had given them back. And everybody was just in shock. Even Jacob was just like, oh crap. He blamed his sons for losing Joe, now Simeon, and now he's even afraid to lose Benjamin too. The irony of it all is that he's blaming his son, but if Jacob would have treated his sons fairly without favoritism, none of this would have ever been happening. It was the brothers' jealousy that made them sell him. Matter of fact, they almost killed him. But we'll see later on how God even works Jacob's sins for his good. Then Reuben's all like, don't worry, Dad. He'll be safe with me. If anything happens, make sure to kill my sons as a payment back to me. I know that sounds pretty harsh, but we'll find out in the other chapters why he says it like that. He was willing to sacrifice his own children if he failed in bringing Ben back safe. Not even himself, if it was brought to that extreme. So that means Reuben is just so careless and does not really care about anyone but himself. What a model father. Even Jacob knows that revenge won't bring his sons back, and so he refuses to allow Ben to go with them. He still doesn't trust them after losing Joseph. He even still shows favoritism by saying Benjamin is his son and that he's all he has left, completely disregarding his wives and his other sons. So that sucks. You can imagine the brothers are like, are we chopped liver? And that's the end of chapter 42. So guys, for real, I cannot wait to show y'all what chapter 43, 44, and 45 have in store on day 15. I pray that you enjoyed this video. God bless you.